third stem down.
Straight into the hopper.
Even managed to save the daffodils. It's all about being systematic, being efficient.
I'm on a mission, I'm paying dues, I'm in position, I'm staying up, it's getting late, you're doing good, I'm doing great, recognition, I'm on a mission, I'm paying dues, I'm in position.
Hello.
Welcome to Climbing Arborist. I'm here with Sammy and Tim, taking down a relatively big cherry tree. Sam would usually be climbing, but he's absolutely done his leg in skiing backcountry, caught in a mini avalanche. So I'll be taking on this one today, and Tim be on the ground, and we're going to do some filming. So hopefully this one's going to be a little different from usual, and we're going to try and talk through the process of doing tree removal and why we make decisions we make and the way we work around the tree. To show you the tree. So the reason this cherry is coming out is because the roots are causing all kinds of damage, and you're seeing that cracked drain tile. So these are all being pushed out of line, so each drain tile is out of alignment, which is an issue. The way I like to climb, a lot of you might know this by now, but on spready trees, broadleaf trees, I kind of tend not to use spurs at first, and I'm going to do the same thing here. So we'll probably work till lunch without spurs, and then go back up on spurs when it's going to be more like stem wood and stuff. I just prefer to climb around the tree rather than climb around on the spurs. That's just personal preference. Many people disagree with that, but whatever works for you. Okay, so I've just got my time point in. I'll just show you guys the tight quarters that we're working in. So I'll show you down here. So there's Sam and Tim, that's the front of the house. Tiny little like side yard space. There's a big stem over there. I'm tied into this big stem, and then there's a big stem that kind of goes up over the sidewalk. So the one over the sidewalk, that's where I'm going to tie my rigging line into. Yeah, you guys want to turn your headsets on?
Yeah.
Hello.
So the idea is with 95% of tree removals, you want to start at the bottom, removing branches at the bottom and working your way up. That way you're going to clear all the space below you. So take for example, if you were to start at the top, all the branches would just get hung up on all the branches below, whereas if you're removing the lower ones first, even if you're just choosing like a quarter of the tree to start with, start at the bottom and remove them on the way up, and then you'll always have a clear zone below you. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to start clearing my way up this stem, clearing everything around me within reach that I can kind of lean out to and clear. Basically anything within reach that is the most efficient to do without climbing around the canopy as such. So everything within like this quadrant that I'm working in now. So I'm just going to install this rigging line, and I'm actually going to use a thin rigging line. It's 11mm. It's actually Kernmaster. That we use this as like micro rigging line. And the reason for that is that we're not planning to rig anything, shock loading anything that's going to be heavy, and it's just nicer to handle.
Yeah, just to add in what Dan was saying about then about clearing from the bottom of the tree, especially when if you're rigging and especially if you've got a drop zone that's clear, then you can clear that drop zone, set your rigging for that, and then you can swing everything else into that kind of area that needed to be rigged, rather than starting where you're going to be rigging, or start where it's easiest to rig, especially, or if you've only got one drop zone, then you need to clear that drop zone first before you start on anything else.
Okay, so this first rig is going to be a little bit awkward because it's going to go into that tree, and then we're going to have to try and pull it out. Okay, if you pull that right up, see what we can do. So you'll see from this camera angle, this is the perfect drop zone for this first load of rigging, because it's going to go straight down onto the sidewalk. Ropes and chippers are a really bad combination, so make sure the groundsperson is really on their game and they keep the ropes well out of the way. Clear to me, watch out. Sammy, how do you feel about leaving the top on a rigging point as opposed to taking the top off? Like, and the differences between the two?
Yeah, I think like depending on the size of it and stuff, if it adds a nice little like kind of sail to like soften everything, and it's pretty good, stops everything wobbling about as much. But if you've got a whole massive load of weight up there, then and you're concerned about strength down below, then it's maybe better taking it off.
Yeah, I feel like on a lot of the time, maybe just because it's a visual thing, but when you take the top off, then you see the rigging point like springing about, like wobbling like crazy, and so maybe it's just that visual of it springing around, whereas when it's still got a bit of a top on it, it springs about less. But I usually leave it on it, especially if I know I'm coming back to get the rigging point anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's that first initial section rigged out and installed the rigging line. So we've kind of done this first quarter of the tree, left the rigging line up there, and now I'm going to go to this limb, strip all those branches off, bring the limb back in, just keep working around in a systematic fashion, remove the next pieces that are joined to that same limb, probably work around on this one where I'm tied into, and just keep going like that.
So rigging bag was over there before, but now we're taking off a limb that was right over top of it, so I've moved my rigging line over to this side so that it's not going to interfere with the path of the limb that he's about to remove. So I held on to it tight. There's not far away to drop, and I slowly let it go as Sam drags the tail end to our brush pile. Not very heavy. Well, heavy enough, but hand holdable.
You can redirect that tail end through the other pulley now.
Sounds good.
And then it'll be, at least that end will be out of the way.
So let's just follow Sam to see what he's talking about. Just a bit of rope management on the ground here, making sure we're not conflicting Daniel's climbing line with our rigging line. So you've set up a bit of a redirect here, Sam, just for the tail end. But
yeah, it's just better if you get the rigging coming straight into the top of the friction device at the bottom as well. We always recommend that.
So this isn't actually taking any force?
It'll take a tiny bit because it's got a slight redirect. But
yeah. Clear. Cherry tree. Brush end out. Sam drops it. Tail end. And he lowers the butt end. Straight into the hopper.
So we're just over an hour in. We had a little bit of a late start, just messing about with these cameras, and we had to fit a headset for Tim in his helmet, so a bit of a late start, but yeah, we're about an hour in, and we've got that stem stripped now, and we've got this stem strip that I'm roped into. So now I'm going to swing over here. I've got these two, they're quite big stems, probably bigger than the two I've done already. So I'll start down by stripping like these shoots off. Everything, even no matter how small it is, strip all the lower stuff off as you work your way up, because even that small little whippy bit will catch you out. So I'll probably do that stem first. I might have to get a bit creative with some rigging for that. There's a far limb that reaches way out that's pretty big, and there's like a tight, there's not really a drop zone over there, so we'll have to get a bit creative, maybe use 2 rigging lines. But yeah, everything's going good. I'm now working on this 3rd stem, so I've installed a 2nd climbing rope just to make positioning much easier. I'm then going to install a 2nd rigging point just for rigging out this big low branch on the back side of this 3rd stem. Having that 2nd tying point and that 2nd rigging point makes this final lead much easier as well. I'm on a mission, I'm paying dues, I'm in position, I'm staying up, it's getting late, you're doing good, I'm doing great, recognition, I'm on a mission, I'm paying dues, I'm in position, I'm staying up, it's getting late, you're doing good, I'm doing great. It's 12:30, down for a bite to eat. Got some nice cookies. Yeah, so we got it pretty much all brushed out. Taken one of the 4 stems down, almost to the bottom. And yeah, got the 3 big stems to remove, and then plus that bottom section where they all join and become one. So yeah, still a fair bit of work in the wood, but it's looking good. Alright, so I was thinking I'll go up that stem there and just start bringing that one down, take out the rigging point, and then just rig it all off there. If it's not going to be too much of a swing, if it is, I could put like a line on it. What do you reckon?
Yeah, that will switch the rigging point to this one, because it doesn't really matter for the wood.
What, to the middle one?
You could do, yeah. It would be like with the brash, it would have been annoying.
It'll be coming down right down here though.
Yeah, but we're going that way with it anyway.
Oh, true, yeah.
But I mean, then those lower ones are going to end up swinging kind of towards the house, where it'd be nicer to swing away from the house.
Or we could make we could get one of like the ton bags. Get one of the ton bags, and I can just piece it down in small like firewood bits.
Yeah.
Just fill it with like, yeah, just get a bunch of rake-ins, and maybe might have to get a bit of chip.
Yeah, take that top out.
Yeah, I'm just talking for like piecing down like that section. I think that'll be the easiest, rather than trying to like swing it right over one of these, because even this one is going to be a fair bit of a swing. So if I can just drop it into like the bag, as long as the bag's got some stuff in the bottom and it's like on that gravel where I know there's nothing underneath it anyway, then it gives me a target to aim for. So yeah, let's do that.
So you're wearing spikes now?
Put the spikes on now. Can you line that bag up pretty much where you're stood? You have the bag on the plywood. Maybe move those couple of loose bricks from that border just out of the way for now, and we'll put them back on finished.
What do you think of this bag load? I kind of want to load it a bit more. It's pretty good.
If you're worried about the bounce when you're dropping logs in a situation like this and there's something that could be damaged, then just put a bit of plywood either side. Just got up after lunch and I'm on this stem, so I'm going to take this one down first. That's the one that we were rigging off, that's kind of over the footpath, and then that was the first one that I went up. So So I've got these 3 stems to get down, and we're going to drop them onto that bag down there for this stem anyway. So it's quite an easy target to drop into. It's going to cushion the force of just some small bits that I'm going to drop down, so we don't have to mess about rigging. Good save, Timmy. So that's not taking up the guy's time on the ground. It's probably the most efficient way of doing it, and we'll probably do that for all of the wood now. Just drop it into a bag.
Haha, not so fast. How quickly plans can change when you're doing tree work. We decided to rig just because it seemed to make sense after we dropped a few pieces.
Okay, you're going to want to put this around the bollard. Can you just chuck me up one more steel carabiner, please? Actually, no, I don't need it, I'll that's not going to reach around anyway. Ready?
So in this setup, over my left shoulder is the main rigging point, as you can see, and then Sam down there in the red is holding onto a control line that goes through the Petzl spin L1D, which adds friction, and that's just to control the swing.
Lower it there a bit, Tim.
It's really important for the grounds person to constantly be tidying and keeping an eye on the ropes, especially when you've got climbing ropes and rigging ropes both coming down in the same area.
Okay, update. We've taken down that stem, so now all we've got left is these two. The stem that we're using to rig from and my original tying point. So just the 2 to go, and it is 2 o'clock.
Recognition, I'm on a mission, I'm paying dues, I'm in position, I'm staying up, it's getting late, you're doing good, I'm doing great. Recognition, I'm on a mission, I'm paying dues.
You still want this long daisy chain sling?
Shorter one. I'm gonna drop this rigging line now.
Okay, cool. Good. Hello. Yep.
And then can you just drag that bag around here for me, please, Sammy?
As I drop these logs down to a bag, you'll see that I've got a bit of plywood on the left hand side that's protecting some daffodils and the tree. But stupidly, I'm not protecting the chipper in case of any bounces, which is ridiculous and very stupid.
Third stem down, which was kind of a smaller one because it came out halfway up this first stem, but one more to go, the one that I'm tied into. 212, so one last stem and then the big chunk at the bottom left to do.
This top may look really small, but I still need to take off as many lateral branches as possible to ensure that the final top is nice and small, nice and light, so I can hand hold it and it'll fit into a tight space. I don't want to mess it all up when I'm so close to the finish.
Then I'm coming home. Recognition, I'm on a mission. I'm paying dues, I'm in position. I'm staying up, it's getting late. You're doing good.
If there's one thing I'm a real stickler for is getting those step cuts right the first time every time. So if you haven't seen my videos before on step cuts, just make sure the first cut is something like 3/4, maybe a little more the way through, just before it starts closing on your saw. And then that second cut you make, just make sure it overlaps every time, and it'll be easier to match up if the first one's like nearly or over 3/4 of the way through. The second one just has to be a little bit in, as long as they overlap, and then easy to break off, and then you'll get your step cuts right first time every time. If you don't, it becomes really inefficient, you get really frustrated, it just slows the job down, you use a lot more energy. So just really work on that. If you have problems with it, just make sure you like those cuts are really good, because you know, spending that extra 5-10 seconds to make sure that cut's good in the first place will prevent you from putting your saw down, trying to snap it off, using energy, picking your saw back up, making a second cut, and then maybe even a third cut. So make the step cuts good. Sammy, I'm gonna need a 550. I don't mind which one it is. Is it really? Yeah. Okay, well I'll have that one then, if that's all right. If you could move the bag to in here where this tarp is, but maybe get like a couple of bits of ply, one for that side and one leaning onto the fence. Oh, sorry. Cheers, bud. Yeah, if you guys could get that bag inside. So just put the plyboard as far up against it, and then lean the plyboard against the fence from there. Yeah, like that.
Birds, Laurel.
Nice one.
Cut.
I know, I've still got to do a bit more and bash it with the axe.
Bash it.
So we got it down, got the stump right down. We just got to quarter up this wood. We've got some tarp down here, so I'm trying to fire all of the sawdust back here. 2 bits of ply either side, and then we've got tarps underneath, so that's caught the majority of the sawdust. We've got one there as well that's just over that kind of open patch of roots. And then I'm just going to finish cutting through this where I know I'm not going to go into the dirt, and then try and bash that with the maul, try and break that off, and just a final cleanup. There we go, final job done, complete. Cut down the stump as low as we could get it without hitting the dirt and the fence as usual. Obviously made an absolute ton of sawdust, so cleaned up as best that, you know, is like feasible really. And yeah, loads of, just close the gate. Loads of shrubs everywhere. Got the camellia, the little yews, all that kind of stuff. Got all these trees, these plants here that we had to avoid. Even managed to save the daffodils. So yeah, all in all, like with dropping small pieces and like free falling the small pieces and then rigging the bigger pieces and having a bit of ply against the daffodils to protect those, and just trying to be as careful as possible. But obviously the clients knew that there was chance that things were going to get snapped here and there, but actually I think only really snapped a branch on the yew, on the little yew kind of what's been planted as a bit of a hedge, pretty young, but all in all that went really smooth. And even with all the messing about that we had to do in the morning, talking to the boys about the filming we were going to do and giving them the cameras, setting Tim up with his headset because his headset wasn't working, so I had to fit a new one quick, like just on the fly this morning. So yeah, a bit of messing about, didn't get up the tree until about 9:30, but still got the job done, so super happy about that. And I really hope that this was quite educational for you and that you learned some stuff about how to work in a systematic approach. It's all about being systematic, being efficient, how you do things, not like bouncing about from one spot to the other, just working like in a simple fashion and everybody on the same page, everybody knowing their role, knowing what they're doing, and the job should go smoothly. So really hope that you enjoyed that. Thanks a lot for watching. See you on the next video.
I don't need recognition. I'm on a mission. I'm paying dues. I'm in position. I'm staying up. It's getting late. You're doing good. I'm doing great. Recognition. I'm on a mission. I'm paying dues. I'm in position. I'm staying up. It's getting late. You're doing good. I'm doing great. Hours of practice, they don't feel like working. Overthinking, I don't mean to let the pain and hurting. I was main stage with Tiny at a festival. Realities of just less than 24 hours pass and I'm back to working. The wage isn't minimum, but when you know your worth is more, you make your own curriculum. Studying the industry, I know you see me killing them. Nice, it felt so real, I had some moments I was living them. Celebrity, civilian, walk amongst the greats that you ignore, the ones relentlessly pursuing.